Good morning, everyone. Appreciate everyone's time. I'm Mike Garning, and on behalf of Stewart Haas Racing and Code 3 Associates, I want to thank you for your time today. First off, some introductions. Tony Stewart, driver, owner of Stewart Haas Racing. Eric Bagdikian, President and Public Information Officer, Code 3 Associates. Jim Boller, Executive Director of Code 3 Associates. And Ryan Newman, driver number 39, Code 3 Associates Chevrolet, this weekend at Kansas Speedway. And we're here today because the Code 3 Associates partnership with Stewart Haas Racing really transcends sponsorship, and I won't talk about it. I'll let Eric do that. But Eric, you became involved with Stewart Haas Racing. That program culminates this weekend at Kansas. Tell us a little bit about the partnership, but also what does Code 3 Associates do?
I'll defer what Code 3 Associates does to Jim as far as our disaster response and recovery side. Benefactor came to us about a year and a half ago who has a very deep interest in both animal welfare and NASCAR, and knowing that I had an interest in both, said, is there a way that we can get in there and make both of these work? And his generosity has allowed Code 3 to help Tony Stewart Foundation, the Ryan Newman Foundation, and etch our partnership with Stewart Haas Racing, which I will say we are in for the long haul. As far as what we do on the training side, we train animal control officers, humane officers from all over the country, and have trained from Canada on how to conduct more thorough humane investigations, which are now finally getting the recognition that they have deserved for a long time. As far as the disaster response side, I'm going to defer to Jim to answer that.
Oh, you finished? Okay. Basically what we are is we are a national disaster response organization. We specialize in technical animal rescue. We get pulled in and requested by jurisdictions all over the United States as well as into Canada to help with fires, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes. We go in when people have evacuated, they're not able to take their animals with them, or for whatever reason can't get the animals out. And we can go in and help. Here in the local Midwest region, we spend actually quite a bit of time playing on the Missouri River, Mississippi River. We were down in Joplin last year in Tuscaloosa with the tornadoes. So we also do a lot of technical training. We spent about 3 or 4 days, a couple weeks ago, out in Salina, training the local fire emergency rescue for the state of Kansas on large animal rescue. So we're brought in to do this. All the training that we do is actually nationally recognized. We are a FEMA resource as well as state and local resource from around the country.
All right. And one of the main reasons why Code 3 Associates became involved with Stewart Haas Racing was because the foundations of both Ryan Newman and Tony Stewart, one of their key missions is animal welfare. And for instance, the Ryan Newman Foundation, thanks to Code 3 Associates, was able to award $560,000 in grants to 142 groups across the United States, double what the foundation was able to do last year. And Ryan, if you can just talk about what you and your wife Chrissy have done with that foundation and the role that Code 3 Associates has played in really growing that foundation this year.
Well, exactly, and you know, that is our long-term goal is to grow our foundation so that we're continually helping with the animals from a rescue side, from a welfare side, and you know, ultimately our battle with euthanasia and you know, ending people as humans killing animals because of the overpopulation. So thanks to Code 3 Associates, we're really proud with our foundation to have common hearts, common goals, and common desires to make a difference, and really proud to have them on the car this weekend and all the things that they've done for our foundation, and we'll continue to do for our foundation. We're proud to be partners of them and consider them friends, as well as you know, sponsoring our race car.
And for the Tony Stewart Foundation, sizable grants to such entities as the Indiana Canine Assistance Network, Purdue University School of Veterinary Medicine and its mobile wellness clinic, Ryan Newman's Rescue Ranch, the Humane Society of Hamilton County, Humane Society of Indianapolis, and the Humane Society of Boulder Valley, Colorado. Tony, again, your foundation's been around for a long time, and again, animal welfare, a key cog in that wheel. Talk a little bit about what your foundation's been able to do.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to, the whole idea of having the foundation was to do and be involved in organizations that we were passionate about, and, obviously animal charities is high on that list. So, like you mentioned, ICANN, for example, it's an organization that helps train canines to assist children that are in wheelchairs, and just to see programs like that, it's just amazing to see what a difference some of these programs that people would look at and initially think don't make a difference. When you see a child that gets this service dog, you realize what an impact and how life-changing it is. So like Ryan mentioned, we're really, really proud to have Code 3 as a partner, and we don't really call them a sponsor as much as we call them partners, because it's really neat to have this group up here and have these gentlemen and their whole organization that it's not about putting a logo on a car and trying to sell a product as much as it's trying to do something positive for our communities in stressful situations. So it really makes us proud to have them on our race car this weekend, and really proud to do what we can to help out with Code 3 and try to help with their mission as well.
And one of the tangible pieces of Code 3 Associates you might have already seen in the Sprint Fan Walk, known as BART. Big animal rescue truck. It's over on the far side of the fan walk by the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series garage. That is available for tours. Eric and Jim will be there, and also Ryan Newman will be there at 3 o'clock this afternoon signing autographs as well as for interviews and things like that. We'll go ahead and open up the floor to questions. I will let everyone know this is Ryan Newman's media availability as well as Tony's media availability. So please state your name and affiliation, and someone from the track will be around with a mic. Stan, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Stan Creekmore with RPM Tonight. This is for both Tony and Ryan. Racing has always been an important part of your life. When did other things like this become as important as just making a lap around an asphalt track? At what point in your life?
I think for me it was about 3 or 4 years after I was established in the Cup Series, and you sit around one day and just in casual conversation you talk to somebody about what it was like 6 or 8 years before that, and you realize that there isn't anybody unless they had a wealthy family that bought their way up here. There's a lot of people, at least in my case, that helped out, and whether it was somebody that gave me an extra $20 at the end of the night so I had gas money to go to the racetrack, or had a kid that was off to college that had a room that knew I was traveling to a track and couldn't afford a hotel room that gave me some place to sleep. It was scenarios like that made it to where we finally were at the level where we could finally pay it back, and it's a very gratifying feeling knowing that having some of these partnerships with some of these associations is sometimes more gratifying than a win, because you realize it's more than just what's happening in the moment. It's got lifetime effects that help out. So that's when it was big to me.
Same thing. It's the 2 or 3 years after you build the confidence in yourself to know that you had the potential to make a difference in other people's lives for the greater good. And with our foundation, the Ryan Newman Foundation, we chose animals and animal rescue, and helping to reduce the overpopulation through spaying and neutering and pet adoption, things like that. And you get to a point where it's just like Code 3. You want to do it your way, and that's why we're starting our own rescue ranch, which will be a rescue shelter at some point. It's starting out with an education building for an education side. We feel it's important to connect with the kids through school systems, school programs, and things like that. So we want to make a difference in our local community as well as up and down the entire eastern seaboard. So that's why we're starting Rescue Ranch as a separate part of our foundation. And the desire is just the same as, like Tony said, it's heartwarming to know that you can make a difference, and together we're stronger as a team, and that's why we appreciate Code 3's support.
Louis Frank Reuters and Speedway. This is for Jim. I live in New York. A couple of weeks ago, I don't know if you heard, they found 3 or 4 live alligators. We don't have them in the wild. And I was wondering if you
You do
heard
now.
about them.
You do now.
I was, did you hear anything, or did you help train any people from the Northeast on alligator care?
Actually, yes, we have trained a lot of the investigators from the ASPCA as well as some of the other organizations. Unfortunately, because of people's fallacies about having non-traditional pets, let's call them that, is pets, and the availability of them through the internet as well as dealers and things like that, people keep them. You've had tigers in a fourth floor flat in New York City that was found a couple years ago. So we're hearing quite a bit, and we try and we push with organizations, humane investigators as well as fire rescue and things like that, law enforcement, the trainings that we're doing around the country to help them and bring that awareness, as well as awareness to the public of why animal welfare is very important, and there is a big correlation between animal welfare and domestic violence. So we push a lot of those topics and subjects with the training that we do.
Melinda?
Just goes to show you every once in a while there is a Florida Gator fan that moves to New York City.
Another Gator fan.
Melinda Adams, ESPN. This is for Tony and for Ryan. Just wanted you to talk about the impact that the repave and the reconfiguration of the track is going to have on the race this weekend.
It's faster. I mean, that's the no-brainer. There's a lot of grip with the tire combination, which is equally an important part of the repave as it is the actual asphalt that they use. But it's in the 2 days the 2 half days that we've had in testing. It's very influential, as it was in Michigan when the sun comes out, what it does to the racetrack and allows us to lay some more rubber down and move around. And from what I've seen with the weather this weekend, it's going to keep getting warmer and warmer, and the sun's going to start beating down on the racetrack. So I see the racetrack changing quite a bit, not just from what we tested the last 2 days, but much more so in the next 3 days. You have Hoosier rubber as well as Goodyear rubber and multiple laps that are going to be put on the racetrack, which are not going to really age it, but they are going to change it. So the racing, I really can't say until we get to that point where the track gets a little bit wider, and we're the last people to get to race it, and it's always better, the later laps when the track's widened out. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think, what still amazes me is how good the technology is and how they pave racetracks. I mean, to put banking in and have it so smooth, the transitions are smooth. It's smoother than most highways that you go down. So from that side, it's nice to see how nice it really is right now. It's like Ryan said, though, it will be easier to get more rubber in the racetrack as it gets more heat. The cool temperatures like today, it's a lot harder to get rubber transferred into the racetrack, but the more rubber that gets down, the better it will be. So, like Ryan said, the temperature's supposed to keep getting warmer each week or each day. So with that, it should keep making it better and better.
Jenna?
Jennifer, AP. Tony, two completely unrelated questions. First one's about Eldora. Prelude's going on hiatus in 2013. If you could talk about what's going on with that, and also talks about maybe a truck race there. And then the second question is, at 50 points out and 9th in the standings at the halfway point of the chase, I'm wondering what you think the final 5 races holds for you, and what you can do and where you might end up.
Well, we know, last year we had a really good stretch about this time of the year, but, we're in a little different scenario this year than we were last year. We're a little bit further back, but you never say never, and this track, obviously, it's new for everybody this weekend, so that gives us the opportunity to try to take advantage of it on a track that, is new. So as far as our where we think we'll end up, I have no idea. It's the hard thing with trying to predict something like that is there's just so many variables that are out of your control. And, we really missed on an opportunity at Talladega. I had an opportunity to gain 20 some odd points, and that would have put us in a very similar situation where we were last year. So, that was an opportunity that got away because of a mistake that I made. But, we've learned that until they mathematically tell you you're out, you still got just as good a shot as anybody. So, we'll keep plugging away, and, we're only halfway through this now. So, we're going to stay focused, and we're racing like we're still racing to win the championship right now. The Prelude on hiatus, it takes a ton of work to put the Prelude on, and we're changing our format for how we run the Dream that weekend and making it a 3-day weekend with that series. So we're trying to focus on that a little bit more, and some changes that we think are going to be better for our late model race. So we just needed to take a year off while we focus on that and make sure that we don't get overloaded for that. But the rumor about the trucks, trust me, I would be ecstatic if we could get any NASCAR race at Eldora. That would be great. But I've talked to NASCAR, and they've been looking at all kinds of different tracks. But it's been brought up in conversation, but it's about as far as it's come right now. We have intentions of bringing it back. Like we said, we're just changing the format with the Dream this year, so we want to make sure that we have enough resources to focus on that, and it made it a little bit harder to try to put the Prelude on the same weekend, and so we needed to take a year off with that to focus on the Dream.
Brian Nelson, Motor Racing Network for Smoke. Competition director, when it comes to that, I think a lot of people don't have a real understanding of what that guy really does, and why does a race team need somebody in that position? What would they be at a loss if they didn't have that guy there?
Well, I think for where the casual fan doesn't understand is not every car owner can be at the shop every day and can be down on the floor every day and handling financials all the way down to the people that sweep the floor at the end of the day. The competition director is very, very crucial in that connection between what's going on the floor and what's going on in the upper office. He's managing the crew chiefs, managing the teams, managing the different departments at the race shop, and he's that connection between downstairs and upstairs. So, and especially on a race weekend, I mean, if we have any kind of a problem, that's the guy that, and in our case with Greg Zebedelli, I mean, he's the acting role as a car owner from my side. So, he's very, very crucial, and that role and having the right person in that role is very, very important to each organization.
Bob Cockers, Sporting News for Tony. When things like the GoDaddy, Danica reports that came out this week, do you have to get involved at all with that, or do you let Mike and his people handle it? And do you ever worry that all kind of the craziness that surrounds her will impact her on the track?
I never worry about how it's going to impact her on the track, because when she started last year in the Nationwide Series, everywhere she went it was crazy, but she's able to get in the car and focus on what she's doing. So, as far as what came out yesterday, we haven't even, it hasn't even been to our department yet in our side. I mean, we don't really have anything to do with that at this point. So, but I think whatever happens, it'll be interesting to see when it comes Super Bowl Sunday for sure. But as far as what she's doing with the race team and the commitment there, it's all the same. And for us, we've not, we read everything yesterday and laughed about it and going on.
Tony, Scott Traylor, Racing Boys Radio. I got to ask you, besides your day job, I want to talk about your outlaw team. The tire deal that's up right now, Goodyear's out. Speculation is what tire they're going to go to. Talk about that, your driver roster next year, and are you going to run any of the National Tour races towards the end of the year, ASCS National Tour races?
Well, I'm a little disappointed in World Racing Group, to be honest. I don't think that their decision was what they thought was good for all of sprint car racing. I think they made a decision what was good for them only. And I think the tracks are finally speaking out and speaking back and saying, hey, you're not going to dictate how we run our races. I personally think Hoosier is the perfect option. It has been for years. I'm kind of surprised at World Racing Group when American Racer brought them into the lawsuit years ago, and then all of a sudden now they're trying to partner up with them. I find that kind of ironic, but I think World Racing Group has kind of lost focus on caring about its racers. I think they're starting to show pretty clearly now that they're more worried about themselves. It makes it tough for everybody. It's really going to make it hard to get cars to show up at outlaw races when they're not running that tire. So a lot of tracks around the country have already announced that they're going with Hoosier tires next year, and hopefully at some point World Racing Group takes a step back and realizes that they have to have partners around the country with racetracks and teams to do what they do, and not just trying to make a quick buck by signing a tire deal. Still got Donnie and Steve on board for next year, and real excited about that. Really proud of both of them. We had a 1-2 finish a couple weeks ago with Steve winning, so really excited to have our same lineup back next year.
All right, any other questions? Yep, Jenna? And we'll wrap up with you.
Danica was in here earlier, and she was talking about, she sounded a little deflated in how she felt she did yesterday in the test out here, and she was slow, and she thought that she didn't do well at Charlotte, and the races that you picked were pretty tough. You've talked a lot about that was the intent, and that that she will thank you next year. Do you indeed think that she will thank you next year?
Yes, I do. I really do think she will thank me next year.
Why?
Because, and just like we said, we picked races that were going to be hard. They're not supposed to be easy, but it's, her scenario is a little different than a lot of other drivers. She's been very eager to get to the Cup Series, and I still think more so than some people do that she has the ability to be successful at this level. The learning curve that she's going through has been a lot shorter than what it probably should have been. But with that, that's why Ryan and I are here as a support system to her, why Greg was chosen as our crew chief for this year. I believe she can do it, but it wasn't going to be easy. There wasn't anything to learn by going to easy tracks this year on a partial schedule. The schedule she's going to have next year, she's going to have to go to these hard tracks. And being able to just have the experience of going the year before, even if it's a rough experience, you at least learn and get a base of that track. And anytime you do something for the first time, it's tough. The second time is always easier. I don't care what it is. And next year she'll see the benefits of that. And it is. It's hard because she's running against top-notch guys, top-notch teams. And there's not enough time to allow her to get caught up at this point, but she's still learning, and she will realize that next year, and she's a confident person, and that's part of my job as a car owner is to say, hey, I know it's frustrating at times, but trust me, there's a benefit to what we're doing. I've been there before, I know. So though she may not see the benefit of it right now, she will next year.
And we've got time. I think Holly has a question.
How do you balance giving her, the tough lessons with keeping her confident enough that she feels good about things, or at least has some sense of that?
Because we've all done it. Ryan came from totally different types of cars to this level. I came from totally different types of cars to this level. And there's always that part at the beginning where you wonder if you can do it. If it was easy at the beginning, then you'd have that confidence right away. Anytime you move to a top-tier series, it's going to be hard to be competitive right off the bat. So having gone through those lessons and going through those experiences, that's where we can help keep her confidence up and remind her that, hey, there's a reason that we brought you into this program. So, we can handle that side and help her out with that.
All right. And just one final note regarding the Code 3 Associates partnership, especially for our local media, strong local ties. Code 3 Associates has spent a lot of time in Kansas and the surrounding area. Matter of fact, before last June's race here at Kansas, spent a lot of time in Joplin, Missouri following that devastating tornado. So please, check out the bar. Both Jim and Eric will be available for any questions you guys might have. And again, thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thank you.